Okay, well, hello and welcome back everyone for closing for day one. What an incredible day one it has been. I'm a numbers person, so again, I'll start with some of the numbers. But like I shared earlier this morning as well, we had more than 6,000 individuals register over the last week. We had many more who joined us through Facebook and YouTube today. There were various points in the day where we literally had thousands of people viewing across the 3 channels that we had going. And in terms of just some of the sessions that I personally also had a chance to get into, we heard from Mr. Karthik Muralidharan in the afternoon. We heard from various experts on topics ranging from mental health and trauma to teacher practices. We saw various panelists come together and really listen to each other and learn from each other, which was incredible to see. And my favorite, we got to see some live master classes. Srijata was leading one of them, but really I think we saw a demonstration of what teaching and learning can look like for kids, even today, even amidst the pandemic, and just the complex challenges that this pandemic has brought, but also the incredible opportunity for us to change and adapt. What's also really stayed with me today is what Muskan shared at 2 p.m. when we started. She said, Didi, let's not make enemies and let's not pick sides and let's not put the blame of our education system on one body or one person. And I thought about that a lot because, while the state of education today might be our collective failure, I think it's a real opportunity we have now to really make it our collective success. And so each of us has a role to play. And through that partnership and collaboration, my hope is that, there's some real room for disruption and change and innovation in the coming years. But that's, a few of my thoughts. What I'd love to do for closing is really get some thoughts from 4 wonderful people who I have here today, whom I'll quickly introduce. I'll start with Supriya, who's an 11th grader and a student of Kendriya Vidyalaya in Arjangarh. Supriya is currently studying humanities and she loves all subjects, but she especially loves social sciences and wants to become a psychologist when she grows up. Supriya is currently doing 3 different internships while studying, which I found out recently. She's also a spoken word artist who deeply believes in the power of education and using our voice to bring a positive change. Welcome, Supriya.
Thank you.
Next, we have Adarsh, who is currently in the 12th grade, and he is studying in Rajkiya Pratibha Vikas Vidyalaya in Yamuna Vihar. Adarsh loves to try on new things. I've had many conversations with Adarsh over the past few years. He's always told me he loves math and science and especially physics. But interestingly, Adarsh now tells me that he's becoming a little bit more and more interested in the social aspect of things. And in dabbling in new areas. So welcome, Adarsh. Seems like you're in a good journey of experimenting.
Hello, Didi. Hi, everyone.
I'll now introduce Srijata, who is an engineer by training from NIIT. But I really know Srijata as an excellent teacher. Today, she led one of the master classes that I spoke about with her students from Ahmedabad, who she's currently working with as a transformational teaching fellow. Srijata is also a Global Girls Education Fellow with Teach for All, as well as a research intern with IIM Ahmedabad. Welcome, Srijata. And last but not least, Simant, who like Srijata has also studied and has also worked as an engineer at Infosys before he moved to the education sector. Simant spent about 4 years at Teach for India and Learning Links and ultimately founded Meraki, which is an organization driven to construct robust parent engagement programs that enable low-income families to support development and learning outcomes of children. Simant has also completed his master's in public policy from IIM Bangalore. Welcome, Simant.
Thanks, Akanksha. Great to be part of this illustrious group.
So really over to you guys. I started today planting 2 questions in people's minds. I asked them, what is an excellent education? And second, I asked, what is the kind of leadership that it'll take for us to achieve that vision of an excellent education? And so all of you have attended sessions, led some sessions today. And I just want to start out by asking each of you, what thoughts really float to the top of your mind? What was the highlight from today? Or what are just one or two things that you think are going to be critical in our journey as a nation ahead? And whoever's ready can start.
Okay, I'll just share. Others share. So I think so. I took 3 sessions today, and all of them were interesting. The one that really stood out to me was the last one about student voices, which was interesting because they pointed out some interesting research stuff, which I think they did on their own or just found out from places. And that was interesting because for me, usually what I think about my own opinion, they are from experiences from other people and my own. But this time, just being able to see how education and how different aspects in schools they influence how a student functions and studies and overall growth. That was interesting from a research point of view.
I love it. So I know Adarsh and Supriya have been saying, hey, we need student voice in how education is designed. And Adarsh is excited. Hey, look, now there's research that proves that it's going to add real value. I love that. Supriya?
Yeah. So what I attended like almost all the sessions in parts, and what I really loved about these sessions and what really made me happy was that there are so many people in this world who are working towards providing excellent education to students, and they're creating so many platforms that students can use and seek to build their confidence, to build their own personalities and learn the way they want to. So I really love that though we are facing a lot of problems in the education system, still there are so many people working together or individually. And that really made me happy. And I was happy to see all of them there uh, at Inspired platform. And that really made me happy. And what also really inspired me and made me happy that they all are focusing on what the student need, and they're not just like a Indian education system, they're not forcing things or just like burdening students with what they want them to learn, but they are understanding what the students need and how they want to learn, how they're happy learning, and they're focusing on that area. And also they're focusing on their mental health and all these things. So I think that is what really made me happy about these sessions. Yeah.
Love it. Simant, would you like to share next?
Sure. Thanks, Akanksha. I think three things I sort of saw that were different or are changing. So one, I think first of all is just students and sort of parents have generally been regarded as consumers of education. And I think that there's a shift from them being consumers to be actually being participants of in the process of education. I see a lot of conversation in the sessions generally, through not-for-profits, also organizations, really where there's now the shift of saying that, they're not passive receivers of it. They're not, problems that have to be managed. They're actually assets that can be leveraged in a way. So loved that shift that was happening. So that's one. I think second is that this, lottery of birth, it's essentially, which is that um, children, if they're born in high income households, essentially have better opportunities and better chances of succeeding. I think by the NEP coming in and saying, you need to start working at age 3, I saw in some of the conversations, I saw how just the focus now being shifted to early childhood has tremendously, I think, altered what could be the future of education for low income communities. So that's a shift. Personally, on our note, from Meraki's perspective, we work with parents. The big thing that I saw come about, at least in the conversation that I was a part of, was that now states are actually rolling out state level programs that are directed towards parents. It was funny to see, not funny, but intriguing to see, right from a Anganwadi worker or supervisor to the director of social security and women and child development essentially come together and talk about how parents are critical. And I feel like this is a significant moment in the Indian education system, where in the next 10 years, I feel like parents will be the most one. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Lots to be hopeful for. And Srijata, last but not least.
Yeah, I think Akansha, want to start with what I heard you say today in the opening statement, right? Saying that leadership doesn't always start with someone who's leading from the front, but
Mhm.
leadership starts from, like, from at the very end, in the middle, at the front. And I think just being with Teach for India and being in this role of an educator for the students, I couldn't resonate with it more, because even as I was planning for this masterclass, right, what I realized is that excellent education and excellent teaching can look so different in every single classroom, right? That does not lower the bar, that only contextualizes it properly. And in
Mhm.
fact, that is what makes it excellent teaching, because it's not one set fit frame. And I think when you left us with those two questions, saying what do we need for that education, what do we need for that leadership, I think when we look at this entire education puzzle in a broad way, right, even today, look at the entire panel that we had today, people working from Meraki to mental health to just children having their voices to educators coming and showcasing their virtual classes, just so many different puzzles, and
Mhm.
everyone is doing everything similarly and yet so differently. And I think that is the leadership that we need, right? Like, start here, start now, start from where you are, and meet your audience where they are, meet
Mhm.
your kids where they are, in terms of their rigor, in terms of their mental needs, in terms of their social emotional needs. um, and I think that is exactly what education and leadership right now needs, just being able to understand what is even needed right now, and then doing your very best to show up for that, instead of showing up for, oh, this is what greatness looks like, and then just pushing for that. No, start from your context, no, start from the ground up, and then just aim to move forward with wherever you are. And I think today, just if you look at today in a zoomed out perspective, that is what I see it as, saying that so many little sparks happening everywhere, and they are happening because people understood the problems, people understood those contexts, and then started working with whatever they had, wherever they had it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. With that, I think we'll just bring this day to a close. I think what we're all saying is, look, we all must commit first to listening, to learning, and that listening needs to span all of us in various roles, all ages, but really, listening to our end consumers, like Simant said, and helping them participate in all of this. Lastly, I'm very inspired by Supriya, who is an incredible spoken word poet. So we're going to try to make a little poem of our own, you guys. We're going to go in this order: Supriya, Simant, Adarsh, and Srijata. I'm going to throw a sentence, and you guys, each of you is going to add one word to that sentence, and that's how we'll bring today to a close. Ready? Okay. The future of education in India is, Supriya.
Beautiful and bright.
Graceful and bright, Simant. Sorry, you're on mute, Simant.
Filled with hope. 3 words, but
Filled with hope, Adarsh.
Hopeful and bright.
Hopeful and bright, Srijata.
Reimagined.
Reimagine. I love it. So, while we know there's lots of challenges and lots of work that we need to put in, today we'll just bring the day to a close with saying that, look, the future of education in our country can be reimagined, it can be bright, it can be filled with hope, and it can be extremely, extremely promising for all of us here. Thank you all so much, and I will see you tomorrow.